It has been 1,292 days since the Dallas Fuel and the Seoul Dynasty faced off against one another. A grand finals preview, maybe? We're about to get into this next game. Scott, it's going to be a banger. The desk already broke it down, but look, whichever way you're going, it's going to be some good Overwatch.
I do want to put my prediction forward as well. I went for the Dallas Fuel. Johnny's off the goop with this Seoul Smurf heads. It will be a good match, as you said, though, Jack. And they highlighted the Winstons, and I think that matchup will come into play a lot. Both of them have been very aggressive in shutting down the opposition Sojourn, which is so important in this meta. So who's going to be able to do it better? We've never seen this matchup before.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe they're finally playing after 1,200 days. It's ridiculous. But not only are the teams sick, there is 4 role stars in this game right now, 2 on each side.
And one on the bench.
Chio, oh yeah, of course. Okay, yeah, and 1 on the bench. And you got Prophet and Smurf on the side of Seoul Dynasty. What a, not even finals, we're having right now. Like, this is, playoffs has just been ridiculous, and it's only just getting started.
And both of these teams, their franchises have had such storied histories. Dallas Fuel had a lot of success in the 2021 season. The Seoul Dynasty also taking a stage themselves in the kickoff clash this year. But neither of them have ever been able to take the big crown, lift that trophy up in the air. So for both of them, they're making that run. They're both the favorites right now, running for it. Who's going to take this first match? Because I said earlier in the pre-show, the team that wins this one will have the confidence going into the grand finals.
Well, there's a lot of Smurf heads out there, and you can put your hands together in chat and in real life, I suppose. Let's bring out the Seoul Dynasty. Like we said, 2 role stars stepping up to the stage right now. Smurf and the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Profits. A extremely scary team. They made some changes mid-season, Scott, in what was one of the most beneficial trades for 2 teams in the league. Iris, of course, comes in. Vindame as well is going to be the backup there on the support. And what's crazy about this is that there's so much history with individual players, but there's also rookies stepping up to the plate too.
Vindame is one of the role stars that a lot of people say was snubbed for it. He has been absolutely incredible coming into this league. Didn't have a storied history before it in contenders, but he's just someone that broke into the scene and has instant impact. On that Lucio, he's been incredible, but on the other side, he's going up against Chio. So that's a rivalry. The person who did get that role star, it's a rivalry that you got to keep an eye out in this match.
Chio and Fielder, role stars in the Dallas Fuel. I think we better bring him out. Please welcome the #1 seed, the Dallas Fuel. Look at that strut. Look at that stance, that presence. Steady Eddie.
He is that guy, and he has had an incredible glow up in this season. A lot of people were questioning the signing heading into it. He hadn't had that much success on Atlanta Reign, but he has been stepping up in a big way on the Sojourn for the Dallas Fuel so far in the last couple of stages.
Really scary. Really scary. I know the votes were made public, and a lot of people actually voted Sparkle too to be a role star. Didn't quite end up getting there. Of course, he's facing his Prophet. But the tank lineup, all right, let's get to it, okay? We've got to get there eventually, right? Smurf versus Fearless, 2 Winston Titans stepping onto the stage.
Smurf is obviously a 2-time champion coming back from the San Francisco Shock, where his Winston was integral to their success and them winning that championship. But Fearless, over the last couple of years, has made a major name for himself. Coming from the 0-40 Shanghai Dragons in the first season to here now being one of the best Winstons that we have in this league. Just look at that handsome man. Yeah. He's ready.
Handsome lad indeed. There's another one on your screen right now in Smurf. Look, Smurf has been on championship winning rosters. Of course, the Seoul Dynasty want to bring it home right here, right now. Both these teams are favorites coming into the playoffs. It all starts here. They could meet there once again, but who will actually take this match and continue their streak through that upper bracket? Lower bracket has been looking rather scary too, so either team jumping down there has got they got a lot to reckon with.
There's been a lot of great teams throughout this season that have already fallen. The Shanghai Dragons, the Los Angeles Gladiators. No one wants to go to that lower bracket where anything can happen, but we're going into the first map. Dallas Fuel pick. It's going to be Nepal, Jack, and this is the first time we've seen this map in the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty interesting pick. This is Dallas Fuel's pick 2. So I'm curious why they actually took us here. Of course, we'll find out in just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's worth saying Dallas Fuel, this meta, this composition is very much how they like to play their game. They like to be that hive mind style. They did it back in 2021 in the June Joust when they did that Winston Lucio Moura style. This is very similar, but with the Kiriko now. So the Dallas Fuel very much at home and comfortable with how they want to do it. I feel like Seoul Dynasty are the team that's playing catch up in this meta.
Maybe new zombie comp. Although it's not so much of a zombie comp now, because Sojin just hits with a one-shot.
People just die all the time.
People just be falling over. All right, we are going on to, it's like a little bit of Village to start us off today on what hopefully is a 5-map banger. And see what Dallas Fuel have got kind of prepared. Of course, we're probably not going to see too much change in the compositions. Of course, there's going to be Symmetra just for the TP out, but I can imagine it's going to be Reaper. Reaper's pretty decent on this map anyway. So many close corridors and tight spaces you can hide the Reaper around, or just kind of WM1, El Clasico.
Sparkle has shown a little bit of Tracer so far in the playoffs. Not a very little amount, maybe on high grounds and stuff. Big, long corridors where you can't get value from the Reaper. But we're going to see them both coming out on that Reaper right now as they're meeting in the middle, and we're going to see Fitz go down off the rip.
Oh my! How did Edison get charged that quickly? Iris though, trades one back. Both Sojins now dead. Soul having to back up though. They were already retreating as they knew Fitz died first. So Dallas Fuel end up taking the high ground pretty quickly. Seems unlikely that Soul go for an instant dive up on high ground without their Sojin. Although Fitz has already rejoined the fray as the point unlocks.
Sparkle's dropping down, trying to get some pressure on, force the Wraith out of Prophet early.
Perfect double though, coming out from Smurf, blocking a lot of shots from Sparkle with Seoul Dynasty, end up capping first. Dallas Fuel looking a little bit scared there, just for the brief intermission. All right, they do end up trading. Nice Suzu to save Smurf as Fearless does end up falling, but Sparkle and Edison just cleaning up the rest of the Seoul Dynasty. Only supports left for Seoul, as they do end up biting the dust in the end. A very quick fight there from the Fuel, almost like they baited Seoul in.
Yeah, you can sort of see the look that Sparkle's going for already in this. Oh, that's just not even, that's just not even fair. Fitz just walked out that door, but you can see the game plan from the Dallas Fuel. They want to isolate Prophet when he's trying to go aggressive, recognizing that if they can punish him early, that will give them a big lead in terms of damage later in the fight. So Prophet's gonna need to be careful moving forward.
Ominous sign. Sojin is now leader of the lobby.
Oh,
very
no.
Scary. All right, Fielder's got the Kitsune rush. It was a little bit further away, about 20% or so. Seoul Dynasty with the high ground. It's going to be an easy pickings for Edison if any of Seoul Dynasty want to try and challenge it. Smurf is making his way onto the point. There's the Kitsune rush. A lot of people actually trapped on the left-hand side here for the Seoul Dynasty. Iris earning his Kitsune rush at the very end of this fight. Does it like Dallas Fuel wanted to push up on him, maybe punish just a little bit. Smurf is pretty damn low. If he goes down here, a little bit of a stagger, and he does. Fuel just using that speed boost from Chio to speed all the way up to spawn. Just create a couple of additional seconds of free point time there.
Yeah, Fielder recognizing that he had the faster Kitsune rush, able to utilize that, but more importantly, walk all the way to their spawn. They're already at 60% to the point, right? If they extend this fight out, we might only have one fight, and they have 4 more ultimates to come online, while Seoul Dynasty are still waiting to get the rest online.
Dallas Fuel got 4 ultimates in the bank to deal with this Kitsune rush and beat from the Seoul Dynasty. Prophet already going to Rave. Have to use the Rave super quickly. And what a split there from the Dallas Fuel. They jumped down with Death Blossom. Not only that, they bubbled and used the beat to save Sparkle. Dallas Fuel still control, but Seoul Dynasty putting on a wave of pressure onto the point, actually find the flip. Smurf creating so much space with this Primal Rage, pushes the Dallas Fuel away, but now he is super low and has to escort himself away from the fight. They can juggle this Scott with a bubble. They might be able to get a free bit of percentage points. Fitz from spawn is trying to find some shots onto Fielder and Chio, but the Dallas Fuel positioning perfectly away from that overclock as Edison unleashes his. That's 2 kills for the Dallas Fuel, make that a 3rd, as the Seoul Dynasty just fall flatter than a pancake I had this morning. The Dallas Fuel with 25% away, or 15% away, sorry, gonna claim this map, and Seoul struggling to get out of spawn.
Looking to punish them. If they can get any picks here, they're not gonna get another fight, but Seoul Dynasty have a long way to go to be able to touch. It's going to be on Devindame to be able to get on it. You're gonna see him going to the right side. Chio's gonna be looking for him to try and boop him away so they cannot get the touch.
Oh, wow, that was close. Woo, that must have been a pixel worth of entry there for Prophet to guarantee that touch. OT ticking down now as Kitsune Rush from Fielder is on the point. Smurf didn't stand it. Well, okay, well, he's dead. Smurf didn't stand a single chance there Kitsune Rush just with the regular shotguns, yeah, you're there. Like, you don't even need Death Blossom, it's just so much damage.
Seoul Dynasty just not really getting any purchase or control in that round. 16 kills to 3 for the Seoul Dynasty. They're just falling over, and it feels like Dallas is controlling positioning, controlling the tempo. Even on that first point, they were willing to give up the capture, recognizing that they could get an advantageous push later on. So Seoul Dynasty need to find a better way to enter into these fights, because right now in the mirror, they're falling a little short.
Yeah, no changes here. Can't imagine we'd see too many, but, you know, like you said, maybe Sparkle brings out the Tracer, but seems rather unlikely, especially on control. You're fighting over a central point anyway, so Tracer doesn't seem too advantageous. All right, quicker rollout for the Dallas Fuel here once again, as they do reach the point first. Seoul Dynasty with the in though. Smurf just laying down that bubble. When Fearless has got his, quite a big cooldown, of course. We've talked about it. Deska's mentioned it a couple of times, where the bubble is such an important cooldown, blocking the healing, blocking shots from Sojourn. But unfortunately, Builder, yeah, he didn't block that one for you. Unfortunately, Shio is going to fall with him, and the Dallas Fuel this time around get wiped. I guess at least Edison got a pick there, but it's not going to mean too much.
Fitz with an important first pick to give Seoul Dynasty the first capture. I think Fitz is one of those players who has been underrated throughout the history of just his career, being his partner in crime with Prophet. And he's just solid as a rock. I was putting him on a similar pedestal to Edison right now. If the Seoul Dynasty are going to get the win in this series, I want to look at Fitz to be able to start taking control of the series, because Sojourn is so impactful in this meta. You can see the Dallas Fuel routing through this bottom right mega to try and find some way to enter into the fight without taking a shot from Fitz.
Yeah, it's been quite a slow start for both teams. No ultimates built up just yet. Fitz just needs his 100 energy. There you go, lets it loose. So Sparkle actually already bites the dust. I'm curious how he ended up going down that quickly. The Dallas Fuel trying to make a high tower out of here, but it's not going to end up working out. Iris does end up falling, but once again, I mean, he gets picked, but he's a Kiriko. He can teleport back to the rest of his team. Now the Seoul Dynasty flipping this whole thing on its head. They are firmly in control. They are lacking kills, but that was just on the first round being so decisive.
And now we have the ultimates coming up, and this is really the important fight in these type of metas. How are you going to utilize your ultimates? The big one you need to look at, Chio's only at 50% to his sound barrier. He will not have that answer to the Kitsune Rush from Iris. So if Fielder drops it, they both drop it, Seoul Dynasty will have the advantage.
There's the Kitsune Rush. Primal Rage is popped by Dallas Fuel 2 to create some space. A lot of low health members on Seoul Dynasty. Iris trying to trap Fitz, but he ends up LOSing him around the pillar. The card's not reaching him in time, and now Fearless doing a little bit more work, pushing that Death Blossom away from the rest of his team. But unfortunately, his attention was fully focused on Prophet, and Iris and Vindame had the way with the rest of them.
Yeah, the beat came out a little late from Vindame, but it was fine because Chio didn't have the sound barrier to answer. But now he has that. Both DPS ults coming up from the Dallas Fuel, but they're at 87%. They're going to need to rush him with the sound barrier and then try and find value with these Sojourn and Reaper ults.
Double overclock on either side. Fitz can make this rather decisive if he chooses to. The beat comes out, hits 5, Fitz in trouble, is actually all alone. Escorts himself back to the rest of his team, but Edison's already taken down Iris. That's the 3rd time in a row. Iris has died in these fights super early. Smurf, Vindame dead. Sound barrier, almost a guaranteed win there, Scott, as long as you execute quickly. Dallas Fuel did, plus they saved both DPS ults.
Fitz was just so afraid of that sound barrier. He pops the overclock, but wasn't even willing to peek his head against Edison. And look at this. Edison and Sparkle didn't even have to use their ultimates, and Seoul Dynasty have nothing. Now it comes on to Dallas Fuel to properly cycle their ultimates. Try and find easy wins with these ones so that they can slowly get the percentage ticking up, because they cannot lose another fight.
Oh, steady, Eddie. Almost took the header off your roll star there, Prophet.
Sparkle.
Nice little rotation there from Seoul Dynasty. Now, I can imagine they're going to wait for speed and the bubble and all their little cooldowns up before they end up going in. Sparkle just jumping down from the rafters there, trying to get the Death Blossom. Bubble's nice from Fearless, but will it end up mattering as Chio's already dead? Somehow, Smurf is just running rampant in the back line. A complete split there from the Dallas Fuel. DPS looking one way, the rest of the team looking the other. A Kitsune Rush to end the fight, and that capture point, as we do end up tying control.
Seoul Dynasty baiting the Dallas Fuel to go in. They went from one mega side to the other, and Dallas Fuel thought that was their time to go. Sparkle pops the Death Blossom, but the Seoul Dynasty were already too far away. Forces Edison to pop the overclock, but got met by Prophet. And Seoul Dynasty with a great adjustment with a disadvantage. So we go 1-1, both teams having a pretty dominant round on each village and shrine.
Yeah, look at that. Like you said, he was light years away. And then Fielder was kind of trapped. Like, he was on the other side of the bubble, he couldn't land that healing, had to swift step towards Fearless, but then straight into the loving embrace of Smurf.
Ah, the loving embrace of Smurf. The Seoul Dynasty fans, perfect place to be. And that's the weakness of the Kiriko. If you use that teleport, you are susceptible to be dove by the Winston, so you've got to be careful about where you do it. They've both tried to take control of this Mega Pack, and this is just going to be a brawl to the edge.
Wait, what? How many Cheerios you had this morning, Sparkle? Add a few more to your bowl after that one. All right, Dallas Fuel end up losing their Reaper super early on. Not a pick you want to lose. Just the Reaper is just so much consistent damage in those neutral fights. If you lose that, you're really just relying on Sojourn's headshots. Oh, PP. Brief
DP?
pause.
As you automatically see the value that Vindane brings to this roster, his aggressive style. He's had a couple of really big plays throughout the entirety of the season doing that exact thing. Following up with Smurf, being able to get a little bit of extra damage gives them that edge in these fights. So Vindane making his presence felt in this match.
All right, we'll see what is up. Fitz having maybe a little technical issue.
They're all looking so worryingly. They're really worried about
Smurf
Fitz
does
right
look very concerned. It's okay. Don't worry. No one's spilt anything yet. That's on the bingo board, so all good.
We casted the game where we had a hand warmer explode, right? So none of that. That was a messy one for sure.
How did that even happen?
I don't know.
You squeeze it too hard, you just that pumped up. God, that I don't know what's in those hand warmers, but I can't imagine it's very nice. Or nice for keyboards too.
Yeah. It's a pretty one-sided 2 rounds that we've had so far in this map. As Seoul Dynasty and Dallas Fuel both showing that once they have control, it's very hard to take it back away from them. And the old cycling, I don't think it's been as perfect as we've seen from both of these teams so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe just realizing the other team's strength. Maybe a little bit of nerves setting in, but it feels almost impossible to have nerves, especially the players, the caliber. And like, dude, Profit's been around forever. Jisoo Busan, of course, London Spitfire, Seoul Dynasty. One of the shortest team resumes, to be fair, in the Overwatch League.
There is a wealth of experience for this Seoul Dynasty team, but actually, interestingly, Dallas Fuel's Rush head coach said in their match against the Hangzhou Spark, they started out nervous, they started out scared, they weren't playing how they usually did in practice. So Dallas Fuel is no slouch or no newcomer to the stage, but here's Smurf stats. 20 eliminations, 8 final blows, 5 deaths. He is putting in a lot of work right now, as we expected.
Don't expect to get too many kills with the Primal Rage, more use for disruption, more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, Smurf's a beast. He's just the perfect metaphor, right? You kind of look at the roster, well, both rosters to be fair, both Smurf and Fearless being known for their Winston play. It was kind of about time we saw more Fearless. He popped his head up every now and then during the season, but Hanbin, just a god tank, and it's been such a benefit for the Dallas Fuel, and everybody wondered when we're going to see Fearless, when we're going to see a main tank meta, and we're in it right now. And it's crazy to think that Fearless has been sitting on the bench for this long, and coming in the playoffs, just hot and ready. Like, he's ready to rock and roll.
And that's the thing, they have Hanbin, a role star on the bench, and it's been very much an off-tank meta so far throughout the season. But even when we have had Winston, Fearless and the Dallas Fuel haven't looked as comfortable, but they are looking in prime form, playing this Winston, Lucio, Kiriko style where they can move as a unit, and it's not as much about individual flanks and moving around the map as we get unpaused, and Seoul Dynasty will take the first cap.
All right, first cap, Edison with 100 charge on the railgun. Narrowly giving Fitz a haircut there. All right, how do Seoul really defend here? Like, the big split here from Fitz, it's going to be hard for Dallas Fuel to kind of capitalize on this. Of course, still have the power slide. Vindane caught out completely in that corner. Must have gotten booped in somehow. Does Dallas Fuel take that kill for free, pretty much? I mean, now trying to force Fitz's cooldowns. Fearless with a bit of a short hop there. Does force Fitz to use that the power slide, and it's just completely vulnerable. Another free power slide and a free kill for Fearless. The Dallas Fuel kind of dismantling Seoul in their approach.
Yeah, Vindane getting caught with his pants down a little bit. I think he expected them to go the other direction, but came down, tried to exit through the outside, and got caught. So that's a free comeback for the Dallas Fuel as we start to see ultimates coming up. Fielder has that Kitsune rush. Look at them. They want to go early. They want to use this aggressively to catch Seoul Dynasty off guard.
Hiding around that corner, they must know. They must know something's up. Seoul Dynasty closed their own Kitsune rush. They're only a couple of percent. A TP through the bubble for Fielder to try and heal Fearless. Point is being captured, by the way, so currently it's a 4v5. Another Kitsune rush, and the Seoul Dynasty are completely split. Smurf comes back with the Primal Rage there, Scott, to try and turn the tides, but Sparkle had already had his way with him, doing him dirty just a little bit. I like the point pressure there, but it's a 4v5, and dude, they're just chasing Vindame into the spawn.
Vindame just got punched back into the spawn door. Fearless is like, go back. But Smurf using that primal gets low. Things going to the point is going to force the Dallas Fuel back. They're like, nah, we're going further forward. Punish the Seoul Dynasty, and Iris uses that Kitsune rush as well. So that was an even fight for Dallas Fuel and Seoul Dynasty, but the Dallas Fuel are at 60% and ticking up right now.
Here at TP is Sparkle. Where is he hiding? What is he doing? Questions that need to be answered. Oh no, he's just there. All good, don't worry. There's the overclock from Eddie. Pitch has got one of his own. Rather aggressive as Edison being right now, but look at the respect the Seoul Dynasty are paying. Do not want to lose a member right here, otherwise it will be last fight. Although, speaking of which, if Seoul Dynasty take any more time, they're going to be forced into that situation. 80% on the board, and Edison unflinching. Like, how would you just stand there when Smurf's diving you straight in your face? Well, you got a beat, I suppose, and confidence, yeah, to boots. Overclock kill from Fitz onto Edison, as Fearless also falls, and now Fitz has a pretty free reign over this point. 93% of building for the Dallas Fuel. Sparkle saves his Death Blossom for the next fight. Soul eventually regain control.
Yeah, Soul were very ready for that sound barrier engage from the Dallas Fuel. Just disengage. Edison not able to get anything with the overclock. And then Soul just re-engage with their sound barrier and their overclock. And now we have Death Blossoms. Re-engaging into a Death Blossom is so difficult because you have to clear every single corner. You can see Prophet holding this angle, trying to get into position to drop this one after the Suzu goes down from the Dallas Fuel.
So alert, the bubble goes straight on top of him for a bit of added protection. Suzu from Fuel to back up. A speed boost and a Suzu will do it. Although that'll be it for Edison too. Back to the workshop. Now the Dallas Fuel, they've at least got their own Death Blossom. But like you said, getting out of this choke point can be quite tough. Feels like you're going to have to burn Kitsune Rush at a minimum.
Well, they have the Kitsune Rush as well with Fielder, with the Sparkle Death Blossom. That pretty much is going back to 2016 with the Beyblade Menace. So let's see how they utilize this one. Suzu's down, he's gonna pop it.
Everybody about to go crazy. There's the Suzu Death Blossom. Couple of easy kills for Sparkle there. Over in a blink of an eye. We talk about how quick kills come in on Overwatch. Kitsune Rush just doubles, triples, quadruples that kill time. Dallas Fuel run over the Seoul Dynasty on that first map and claim. Oh, Nepal. I mean, it was their map choice for Scott. But I'll call you Rose there.
You can call me Rose, Jack. It's okay.
That was a quite convincing first map. Didn't really feel like Seoul had a say in a lot of those fights. The Dallas Fuel, just their tempo and kind of knowing how to bait the Seoul Dynasty into a position they want him to. We saw a lot of the times, like, I mean, that second to last fight was a kind of perfect example of that. The Kitsune Rush, after Smurf jumps to point to try and force. Iris is moving forward, the rest of the team. The Dallas Fuel are like, yeah, that's fine by us. We just WM1, run over you.
And you can see Dallas Fuel playing as such a unit. Smurf is struggling to really just get in and apply the same level of pressure that he's used to being able to do. So maybe some adjustments need to come in, but those were very polarizing fights. Dallas Fuel, though, having a major control of it for most of that map.
Well, at least Seoul Dynasty, they do get their map choice as we go on to Hybrid straight after this break. This is a Grand Finals preview, everybody. Well, if you believe Twitter, that is. We'll be right back after this.
You'll start the shout and the blade from Sparkle with it. Now that they're low target, Nova gets deflect on the arm.
Goes to the back ball, he takes the double shot. NSM with a 5K! That's what you want to see!
Gio demands shears. A triple for Lucian.
Who's getting unreal value right now? What is this?
But it's Hotman is a one-man army on the front.
Lucifer Blue, third brightest.
A lot of role stars in this series, and there's one on your screen right now. Fielder, stats from Kiriko on the board there. Scott, looking rather clean. 57 assists in the Kiriko Kutsuno Rush. Kind of ridiculous.
I just really like the way Fielder plays the hero, because I think he is that perfect balance between being offensive, getting that damage in, looking for those picks, while also healing your team, getting the value Suzu's, keeping your team alive. You know, obviously there are some opposite ends of the spectrum. I think Landon is a lot more defensive, and then you have Teru, who just chooses violence every time he wakes up. Fielder is that perfect in the middle, and I think that's been a big boon for the Dallas Fuel in these playoffs.
Yeah, Kiriko is definitely an interesting hero on the face of it. I was super excited to get my hands on her. I'm like, okay, so how do you really play her? She's got a lot of healing. Her damage feels a little bit inconsistent if you're not hitting headshots. And I think our teams are now really just getting to the grips of it. You either have people like Teru, who's perma on the flank, doing damage like any good support will
Don't do that. If you're in range, do not do that. I need to state that explicitly. Be like Fielder.
Yeah, or Fielder, who's cranking out the healing and the Suzus. Yeah, it's really tough. And you were saying during the pool, Scott, you teleported in to help your Winston, to help one of your DPS. You are so fragile after you use that. You best believe you've got a Winston, a Reaper, a Soldier chasing after you because you are vulnerable. That cooldown, although it is kind of short on the face of things, people are going to insta-turn as soon as they hear that go on.
Yeah, and I think you need to be very careful and cautious about how you're using those abilities, the Suzu and the teleport. You just saw how valuable against the Death Blossom and how the dives of the Winston, that Suzu is such an important tool to stay alive. So it's the best Kirikos are the ones that are utilizing that correctly, and I think Fielder is one of those. But we're heading on to King's Row now. This is going to be Seoul Dynasty's pick. It's a map that we've seen bits and pieces. I don't expect too much of a change in terms of hero composition.
Yeah, no changes here, I can imagine. Maybe a little Widow Peak from Spawn, maybe. It was Seoul Dynasty's choice. And then Dallas Fuel actually get their choice of sides, so we'll see where they want to end up. But Seoul going here. I mean, when it comes to maps, Scott, how do you feel about this? Because a lot of the time, especially when it's things like Kings, it doesn't feel like when we're playing Mirror, it's for any specific reason. It's just, we feel most confident on this.
Yeah.
Not for like, okay, we want to play something funny here, I think.
Yeah, it's very rarely some super deep meaning. There is no analytics or like nine-head type gameplay or thinking. It's just, when we play this in scrims, we feel comfortable. We understand how we want to maneuver around the map, how we want to utilize our ultimates. How you play each point is very unique and different map to map. So I would expect that Seoul Dynasty are very confident in their ability to play this style on this map. But the Dallas Fuel, I don't think they have a weakness at this point.
It really doesn't feel like it. They've always been fairly scary. Although there was a funny stat on the bottom of the screen there. Seoul Dynasty 5-1 all time versus the Dallas Fuel. Very different teams by the looks of it. One familiar face though. It's your boy right there, Profit.
Playoff P.
Playoff P. Ready to rock and roll. All right, let's see how they approach this. Looks like a speed through hotel. Swap inside, a little bit of switcheroo. Yeah, they're already going in for a bit of an aggressive dive there. It's quite interesting to see Fearless play against Smurf. Smurf very willing to use his bubbles quite quickly. Fearless very passive with his, only wants to set up the perfect moment.
You can see Fitz is trying to wide peek. As much as his team's trying to push through Hotel, Fitz is trying to go to the right so he can charge up and try and get a pick onto the backline. You can see Fearless getting so low and has to use that Suzu.
Yep, Suzu used, Leap from Fearless also used. You see that switch step straight on top of him. Top Fearless back up as they do cower in Hotel. So Dynasty take it upon themselves, just rotate to the point, however. A couple of free ticks for Seoul as the Dallas Fuel still pretty low. Edison had to back up there too, so can't instantly re-peak. Nice Suzu to save Profit's life. Did end up using the Wraith Walk too, so all about forcing cooldowns.
And
now Edison trying to get onto a position where he can do a little bit of damage. Speaking of wits, instant Kitsune Rush as soon as it's online. Like, you just want to get that out ASAP.
Dallas, that's what they were waiting for. It felt like they were hesitating and they weren't willing to take that engage. They were just waiting for that Kitsune Rush because they knew that that was their win condition. Fielded it so much healing because Fearless was taking so much damage. Look at how aggressive Fearless is being. He almost has his own Primal Rage to Smurf's 50%. But the big problem for Dallas Fuel is how do they deal with this Kitsune Rush coming out from Iris?
Yeah, I mean, Chio's got the sound barrier. You're looking at maybe a sound barrier and a amp speed. Hopefully an amp speed without the sound barrier. Use that a little bit later. All right, the rows have been paved for Seoul Dynasty moving on the point with only 33% left to cap. There's the beat coming out from the Dallas Fuel, so they try and make their move. Smurf ends up going down to the Primal Rage just dislodging everybody. The entirety of Seoul Dynasty looking around to try and deal with Fearless as they end up having to back out. No even DPS ults invested here for the Fuel. Speaking of which, they used an overclock. But Dallas Fuel just turn tail and run. Chio, okay, Chio. Okay. A little bit of Skybox Lucio. It doesn't end up working out though, as Profit and Smurf end up going down. Edison popping his own overclock. Time's ticking, Scott. Time is ticking.
Seoul Dynasty just feel like they're just so slow with how they want to move around. They just could not dislodge Sparkle from this statue area, and Smurf's just taking so much damage. And I need to give credit to Fearless. He's just such a nuisance in the backline. Gets that Primal off even when the Kitsune Rush goes. And now, as you said, a minute 20, and they only have 2 ultimates remaining. The Death Blossom and the Primal. How is Smurf going to try and get value with this?
Kitsune Rush available further. His second of the game.
Another one.
Spots someone TPing to the back. Ignores the Profit completely. I mean, you've got to look around eventually. Sparkle looking for a Death Blossom as Edison is taken down. Sparkle quickly having to back out there, using that shift almost instantly. And Profit comes on large with the Death Blossom as Sparkle repays it in kind. A 2-3 kills for Sparkle as he's holding this point down. Just him versus Vindane on the point. Has to use the Wraith. Has got lifesteal in this kit, but there's just too many spawners coming back in. Sparkle tried to turn it in their favor, but Seoul hang on to the point.
A great attempt by Sparkle to turn that one back around, but the spawns are just too close for the Seoul Dynasty. Dallas Fuel just could not get back in time. And now the card is pushing. You're not upset about that hold if you're the Dallas Fuel, though. That was a 3.5 minute first point hold, and now they have the positioning as well. This arch is so hard to push through, but Iris with that Kitsune Rush, they're going to use that to break down the door, so the Dallas Fuel will have to back up.
It's like the perfect point to use it on, right? Nice little headshot there. Does send someone from the Dallas Fuel reeling. There's the Kitsune Rush. Little swift step into the Kitsune Rush. Instant Suzu down there, Scott. So we can get another one online ASAP using that ability haste of the ultimate. As you see the Dallas Fuel ending up piecing out. Fearless, unfortunately, burning that Primal Rage just to stay alive.
We've seen that trade a lot, where you trade the Primal Rage, gives your team time to disengage, and then you can go back, and then Edison comes back in, picks off Vindane first, and he was the one with the beat.
Yeah, perfect pick from the Dallas Fuel. That Kitsune Rush only granting Dynasty, what, like 20 meters, if that?
Dallas Fuel are going to go back and hold that arch as well. That's not going to be almost any time or positioning gained from the Seoul Dynasty, and time is ticking down, and Fearless is actually going to go for this spawn hold. This is one that is very difficult to dislodge because, as you can see, Fearless can just sit up here on this high ground. Seoul Dynasty are going to have to clear him.
Yeah, there you go. All right. H went height. All good. No more nuisance. I love Sparkle just kind of chilling up on height. You're Reaper, you're safe, it's all good. It's up to Edison and Fitz here to really open this one up. It's been Edison more often than not, especially in the first map. Ooh!
Never mind.
Wow, cursed him there. Fitz just takes his head clean off. Dallas Fuel still willing to fight though. Double beat comes out for both teams, but Kasune rush for the Dallas Fuel. Can they capitalize on this? The Seoul Dynasty, unreal respect paid to the Fuel, even though there are only 4 people up. Should be only a matter of time before Edison comes back in, but now comes the railgun. Smurf already flattening Fielder as Fitz makes his presence known in the front line. No kills, but a whole boatload of damage as Prophet finishes off 3.
That's a masterclass by the Seoul Dynasty of how you deal with that. They had this support ultimate disadvantage, but as soon as the Dallas Fuel drop the sound barrier, drop the Kitsune rush, they go back with their sound barrier and then re-engage. They get the picks. That's how you need to play it. And now they have the advantage with the ultimates, and the Dallas Fuel are the ones who are trying to re-engage into Seoul.
Might be quite tough. Kitsune Rush almost available for Seoul Dynasty. There's the dive in from Smurf off the Primal Rage. Edison just the main focus right now of the Seoul Dynasty. A perfect juggle by Smurf, but Sparkle again! How does he keep doing this? A double kill with the Death Blossom. He's just hiding somewhere. He's got like invis hacks or something, man. There is no way Seoul Dynasty aren't seeing this. The Dallas Fuel, Edison completely taken out the picture. He was the distraction in that situation.
And there's only 20 seconds left, Jack, and Seoul Dynasty threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at that fight. The Dallas Fuel going to try and hold close, make them have to run through them to the point.
Primal Rage for Fearless in a couple of percent. Only real ultimate online for either team. It's more of a neutral right now. What can Fearless do? He's got everything lined up. He's waiting for the dive in. Goes straight to the back, puts the bubble down. He's in trouble. Fortune Suzu, huge Primal Rage knockbacks. Look, instantly focusing Fitz. He's taking a fair bit of damage, but they don't touch. Smurf was supposed to be on. Gets taken care of by Edison. Fearless once again just causing so much aggro. Just making everybody look at him. He's in the middle of the entire team, just smacking him around.
And Seoul Dynasty don't want to spend their time trying to burn through that 1,000 health Winston that's in your backline. They need to move forward. They need to get picks. All of that fight, the whole round ended up on that Sparkle Death Blossom. That reset everything. It changed everything. He gets 3 picks out of nothing for the Dallas Fuel and secures that second point hold for them. And now the Seoul Dynasty have a monumental task to now hold the Dallas Fuel to the second point as well.
Saw a cheeky little grin there from Sparkle on the little cams.
Loves a grin. Yeah.
Yeah. Quite a smiley boy, that's for sure. Wow, the Seoul Dynasty. I mean, the ball was fairly close, but it very much felt like Fuel had a stranglehold on Seoul for the majority of that. We saw Seoul doing a fair good job of negating a lot of those support ultimates, like saying disconnecting themselves from the fight, like we don't want anything to do with it.
How did this happen? Takes down Prophet.
Just hits him in the face, like 2 people jumping. Hey, I'm coming to save you. Please focus the Reaper.
Iris is trying to help, and then he ends up in a corner with the Death Blossom.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on right here?
Honestly, for me, it feels like as much as Seoul Dynasty are dealing with the ultimates well, their cycling is right. Dallas Fuel has the control of the tempo. They are choosing and dictating when the fights happen, and that is the big difference. As Iris is doing the classic Kiriko thing, getting some damage in before the fight really pops off.
All right, wrap around the statue for the Dallas Fuel. Oh, nice little flank there from Fitz. That was a big disruptor shot. A lot of AoE damage. Fuda gets taken down. Fitz eventually paying for his sins there.
It's better for Dallas though, because Fielder will come out of spawn much faster, and he can just TP out with the Kiriko teleport, and all of a sudden it's a 5v4. How are Dallas going to utilize this?
All right, they're jumping in ASAP. You're talking about controlling the tempo. That's exactly what they're doing. Forcing the issue. Seoul Dynasty not wanting to give up too many ticks. There's 1 gone. Surely they re-engage now. Yes, they're as a 5-man. They're back at it once again, but Vindane just annihilated. And now Smurf a key target. Steady Eddie is here to stay. The Dallas Fuel, the wave, hello and a goodbye. Edison, they're going to cap point A.
Vindane's got to put a little bit more respect on Edison's name right now. That's the 2nd or 3rd time I think he's been caught riding a wall out on the side, and Edison's just taken off his head. So maybe playing a little bit more safe. As you can see, Dallas are going to try and get aggressive, start getting their ultimates up, as they have the ultimate advantage. Once again, Fielder has the Kitsune Rush, and historically in this series, Dallas Fuel have tried to go early, try and go fast, recognizing they have that advantage.
Yeah, how far are they going to play up? It is currently Sparkle on the payload, pushing solo. Looks like Fielder's going to come back. I mean, ideally, you just want one big fight here on this section of the street, so it forces Seoul Dynasty in a horrible spot. All right, once again, controlling the tempo, just backing up just a little bit. Both Kitsune rushes thrown down. That's a lot of pavement that needs redoing after this. The Dallas Fuel, though, with a perfect isolation on that bubble again. Fearless's bubbles have just been magical to watch. A quick team kill for the Dallas Fuel, and they used a single ultimate in that fight.
And the cap is coming very quickly with 3 people on the point. This is going to be very difficult for the Seoul Dynasty to close this distance. They're going to have to use a sound barrier or a primal rage to even get close to touch.
There's only one person on the payload right now for the Dallas Fuel, so they can thank themselves for that. Edison going for an aggressive peek with that overclock, but Seoul Dynasty need to touch. Smurf needs to get there. Someone, please. 3 people here with the beat from the Seoul Dynasty, but Dallas Fuel still have ultimates in their back pockets. Fearless with a prime race smacks Fearless to another dimension, and now it's just Vindane versus Sparkle on the point. Smurf, history, and the Seoul Dynasty might be there as well. Goodbye, history books have been written. The Dallas Fuel are going to push that payload in, and they're going to get match point just like that.
This is not the close series that a lot of us were hoping for. A lot of people have been saying that Dallas Fuel are the team to beat, but I thought Seoul Dynasty would be a lot closer than this. That map was 13 to 37 final blows. Dallas Fuel firmly in control of this series.
Just domination on an unprecedented scale right now for the Dallas Fuel. What can Seoul Dynasty do to come back to this?
There needs to be something changed in the way that they're approaching these fights. As we keep saying, the tempo of the Dallas Fuel, Fearless is just getting in their face and they haven't been able to punish. Maybe if they can get more punishes onto Fearless, that will enable the rest of the game from them right now. Because right now, Dallas Fuel is doing anything they want.
Less of a grand finals preview right now. We are witnessing more of a round 1 knockout. We're going to jump to a quick break. Can Dallas Fuel make it a 3-0 after this? We'll have to wait and find out.
나 뽑죠.
wait, mic test one more.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Okay.
좀 피파 보고 있는데 이거? 아,
보면 안 돼? 어떻게 알아 근데?
말해본가? 캠 보여. 우리 모니터 보이게 해놔가지고 뭐 보고 있는지 뜸.
펄스한테 펄스 안 붙일게. 펄스한테 펄스만 붙여. 딜란 절대 안 붙인다. 하고 왜 나한테만 붙여가냐면 게임 바꾸라 해.
원래 좁은 곳에다
바꿔.
That's like wake up. That's
That's
like
like
wake up. Go past
Don't
our
talk
boys.
to me, please don't talk to me.
나 뽑죠.
You good, bro? I did not want to see my teammate laying on his desk during before the match.
We're playing. What do you mean you're sleeping?
I'm waiting.
You're waiting.
Hello.
야!
괜찮아.
오게 해봐. 괜찮아.
괜찮아.
해줄 수 있냐 그냥?
괜찮아 이거 그냥 핸디캡이야 핸디캡.
핸디캡 하긴.
Okay.
Wait, is Skyripper also from Finland?
I don't think so.
Things. Romania.
From Romania.
Yeah. So I thought.
What country did you say earlier the guy was from? Estonia. Don't know where that is. I actually just don't know where that is. Do you know where that is?
Europe.
I know it's in Europe. I could not tell you where on the map it is.
We need to sit.
Yes.
Is Harry in his seat?
Yeah.
If he's in his seat, then why is it turning?
I was really about to get out, like just a minute ago, because we weren't starting the game.
A very popular country.
I feel like it's probably like on the south of Europe. Or like Greece or something.
It's gotta be in like Spain or something. It has to be.
Northeast,
No.
right on.
Somewhere like southwest. Or like
Oh, it's
something.
up to Russia.
Is it?
Near it, isn't it?
It's right under Finland, above Latvia.
Oh
What
shit.
Why is it up there?
Why is it up there? I didn't relocate.
Why on earth is it up there?
오!
인서가 캐리해 주겠지.
인서 못해요.
인서 못한다.
포인트 C9.
C9 해버리기.
D9 해버리기. D9 해버리기.
오케이.
어,
아,
뭐?
C9.
C9.
C9 해버리기.
No. What is up?
C9.
나이스.
C9
베이스이 동타이.
Don't miss out on the kick-off clash. Legendary team mixed skins. The Seoul Dynasty Tiger skin is on sale right now through November 15th. You haven't got too long to grab that one, so make sure you pick it up just for 200 League tokens. Now, speaking of Seoul, they're currently down a couple of maps. I did see the tweets in the little break there. Fearless Doubters. Don't
Shambles.
think there are many left after these two matches, because this is a bit of a blowout.
Yeah, this match has not been close so far. As you know, we haven't really seen anyone test the Dallas Fuel. No one had tested the Seoul Dynasty either, so we didn't know what would happen when we had this clash of titans. But Dallas Fuel have just taken this match by the throat and just running with it. And it has to start from Fearless. As you said, the doubters are in shambles because he's just not being punished. He's diving in, he's doing whatever he likes. And I was just looking at the numbers for that last match. Fielder almost doubled the healing that Eros was putting out. And that is why we're seeing more Kitsune rushes coming out from the Dallas Fuel, and probably why Fearless has more space in this match.
A lot of the time, did mention it, did note it a couple of times in that last map, but they're waiting for kind of Smurf to dive in, use that bubble. Then Fearless goes in, separates the entire team. The bubbles, the Winstons are so important, integral in these initial engagements. And that last fight for the Dallas Fuel, again, waited for Smurf to jump in. Dude, Fearless is already down there planting the Dallas seal on the pavement. That big bubble isolates half the team. And then there's so much burst damage from the Sojourn and Reaper. Your Kiriko needs to do something. But the Swift Step, maybe a little bit too late, you know, or Kiriko just can't see because the bubble, it's all falling apart.
The person I want to see stand up from the Seoul Dynasty is Playoff P. Prophet hasn't really been present in this match so far, unable to get anything done on this Reaper, while on the other hand, Sparkle has been getting value from almost every Death Blossom that he's used. If he's not getting picks, he's creating space and he's enabling the rest of his team. So we're heading over to Dorado. This music is just a bang. Let's talk about that first. It's an absolute bop. But this is an interesting map because we've seen some teams, including the Dallas Fuel, play Tracer from time to time. Will we see it come out on this map?
Yeah, we see a little bit of Echo too.
Alpha Yi from the Hangzhou Spark.
From the Hangzhou Spark, yeah, playing a little Echo on the defense. Quite like it. There's a lot of open ground here for the Reaper to traverse. It's a bit difficult without the kind of speed boost. Echo gives you a lot of burst potential with the sticky bombs and copy. You don't get as much value copying a tank anymore. You only get that 300 HP, but it's still having a double Winston. It's still pretty damn good. We'll see if there's any small changes here. Looks like Dallas Fuel are going to be running with the Tracer. Okay.
And the reason that I believe that we have seen the Tracer instead of the Reaper is because as Reaper, there's a lot of long sight lines. It can be difficult to close that distance. The value of Reaper really comes when you can get in and out with the Wraith Walk. But Tracer, especially on this defense, you can just sit on the high ground, go aggressive, bounce between these yellow and red buildings, and then when you want to go down, you can recall back up. So it gives you a lot of freedom to move around the map, put pressure onto the backline. Let's see if Prophet is going to return on this Tracer as well. He's at the spawn door. We might see a Trace Mirror.
Yeah, not even a shot from Fitz there to try and tag someone on Widow. Looks like we are seeing it. One of the picks he made his name on, the Tracer. Prophet locking it in. Okay, they know it's a Tracer Mirror too, as Prophet got shot in the back by Sparkle, who's just hanging around the corner. Or on the high ground, I should say.
And just see what Spark was doing. He's just sitting up here, unloading clip under clip into the backline. And it's going to be very difficult for Seoul Dynasty to punish. And he can always heal for them as well at any moment. So he's just playing infinite pressure alongside Fearless. As you can see, Seoul Dynasty just struggling to get the cart upwards and get any control right now.
Yeah, actual free damage for Sparkle there. I think a pulse one pretty damn fast. Probably doing the same though, almost matching it. All right, high ground control on the name of the game for the Seoul Dynasty by the looks of it. get Fitz into a position where he can actually do damage. He's also looks rather quiet. You talked about how he was so underrated. Maybe he needs to prove how much value that he provides to Seoul Dynasty, at least in this match.
Down.
Going down again. Okay, Prophet. Ooh, almost got the one clip there. That would have been dirty onto Sparkle. Both of the Tracers. Bidame, he do be skating. He is now dead. All good. All good. 2.5 minutes now.
Smurf has just been struggling to get going. Every time it feels like he's rearing his head, the Dallas Fuel just putting so much pressure. And you can see Dallas Fuel going to reassume this high ground pressure, try and look for picks as Soul tries to get back to the cart. But Soul is going to try and take this high ground away from the Dallas Fuel as ultimates start coming up.
Prophet is just kind of sneaking around too, lurking in the sewers. No, but instantly you see their Dallas Fuel just making sure Prophet can't get free move on that payload. Actually forces the rest of Seoul Dynasty on the low. Dallas Fuel end up giving up hype, but they're playing all the way at the back. Their understanding of where to play is just unreal. Let's see what Prophet can do with this pulse bomb. Sparkle's got one of his own. Kitsune rushes for both sides too. There's going to be a lot of ultimates in this fight. Who can land this pulse? I think it's going to decide it. Prophet going in. Misses the pulse bomb onto Edison. Both Kitsune rushes being flung out. Sparkle also missing his, but once again, Smurf instantly focused by the Dallas Fuel.
Fitz gets punished as well. And Dallas Fuel has just been getting more value from these Kitsune rushes time after time.
Hello. What's up?
Oh, okay. A little bit of disrespect coming in from Steady Eddie. And I don't blame him. 90 seconds remaining for the Seoul Dynasty. They are once again just struggling to get anything done. Smurf's only at 70% ult charge. They need to find a way to get him into this point, get him comfortable, enable the dive, get something going between himself and Prophet.
Small little dive there from Smurf. Here is following up with a swift step. And once again, Dallas Fuel, it's like they know. It's like they're on a chessboard. Okay, they're here, now we go here. Now we're here, we go here. Instantly backing off around that statue. Overclock coming out.
Here comes Fearless.
Searching for Sparkle's head, but Vitz is instantly pushed out. Fearless with another fantastic bubble, but this time Smurf gets his revenge. Steady Eddie dead as the Dallas Fuel now pushing all the way back. Fearless trying to turn it around, but that Primal Rage is just free ultimate charge for the rest of the Seoul Dynasty as they're moving this payload at quite a considerable pace. The overclock eventually wears off, and so does the health bar of Fielder. Very little healing in general now for the Fuel as Chio and Fearless will die. Seoul Dynasty, okay, they're looking alive.
Still in it, and that was much better by Smurf. Getting in the face, counter-diving the aggression of the Dallas Fuel, able to get the punish onto Edison, which removes that overclock from the equation. So now, they need to start getting more time. See what happened here with Chio.
Boom, hit that beat.
Didn't get
Edison was in that bubble at that time. What a perfectly placed bubble from Smurf, stopping that sound barrier, hitting the Sojourn.
Beautiful play, beautiful play. Edison with this overclock now. We've talked about how he has been getting the better end of this Sojourn matchup so far. Let's see what he can get from this one. You can see teams generally, they want to just push the cart under the point of the Dallas Fuel that are holding, but you can see Fearless doesn't want to get that progress coming at all. He's trying to pressure it, jumping down, taking damage, giving Fielder more time to get that Kitsune rush up.
Don't give Edison a straight line. That's exactly what he's got right now. He's got 100 charge. Bidame again jumps out straight in front of him. Instant overclock kill onto Prophet. A double kill for Eddie. As he just leap round the corner. Full aggro now, just hunting for clips. And he almost found one. A triple kill for Edison. Chio kills Fitz. And the Dallas Fuel, well, they're going to spawn camp, Scott. Of course they are.
Of course, this has been the name of the game for the Dallas Fuel. They just apply so much pressure to Soul. It feels like they're so uncomfortable all the time. Fearless is literally touching the spawn as we speak. Prophet might be trying to go towards the cart, apply some cart pressure, forcing the Dallas Fuel back.
That was quite nice presence of mind there by Prophet. Oh, the melee looks so sad. He tried double blink melee straight onto the Sojourn. Edison just shrugged it off, put a plaster on it and backed up. All right, Dallas. Once again, reassuming the position near this near the payload. Both Kitsune rushes used. Prophet still hunting for a target with a pulse bomb. It goes wide, but Edison still gets chased down. That pulse bomb not doing damage, Scott, but actually split the Sojourn away from the rest of the team. Chio falls, and the Seoul Dynasty now up to 3 players make that. As we're nearing OT as we push this second point, Scott. Dallas Fuel, they're going to have beat re-engage.
Absolutely. This fight is going to be so important to the Seoul Dynasty. They have so many ultimates. I want to see them assume control. You can see the difference between the way Seoul Dynasty and Dallas Fuel are playing. Smurf's just sitting on the cart. at this point, Fearless would have been touching the spawn door. That is really the major difference, is Solar giving Dallas Fuel the space to walk in and take the fight on their terms, and now it feels like Fitz is under pressure, forced to use this overclock.
God, Shio with a mid-air beat there. Almost lined it up for Fitz. Overclock being used, but to little to no effect. Fearless is just batting him away. The rest of Dallas Fuel in a little bit of trouble though. Fitz still finds value with that railgun, cleaning up Sparkle as Smurf also uses his Primal Rage. The Soul Dynasty, this is what we wanted to see from you. 25 seconds to go. They land that payload in, they collect it, and now they have 1:50 going into third.
Great job healing for Fitz there. Fearless trying to go aggressive with the Primal Rage, with the Sound Barrier, but unable to find that pick. And Fitz with a miraculous shot onto Sparkle across the map, taking out the Tracer. So important for that fight. As we see Sparkle actually moves over to the Reaper, there's a lot more corners, a lot more value that you can get from the Reaper on this third point.
Oh yeah. Wonder if Prophet is just going to change. I can imagine just after Pulse Bomb, just wants to get it out of the way, force a cooldown, or hopefully get a kill. Have to wait and see. All right, Fearless, slowly but steadily, drops onto the point, lays down the bubble, there's the pulse. Didn't connect by the looks of it. Smurf ends up falling over. Once again, another well-placed bubble from Fearless, stopping that heal coming in. And the Suzu too.
The Winston bubble blocks both the healing from the Kiriko and the Suzu. So if you can isolate the target, the Kiriko either needs to teleport into the bubble, or they need to just accept that they cannot help their Winston. So Smurf has been punished for that multiple times. Fearless doing a great job of isolating Smurf or whatever target he's going on time and time again, as we see Prophet switch over to the Reaper now as well.
All right, yeah, so double Reaper.
Going somewhere?
Kitsune Rush is available for both sides. Pretty even fight when you think about it. No overclock for Soul, but that'll be online in just a moment. Once again, Dallas Fuel playing up to the gate, Scott.
Making them work for every inch, every single team fight. So even when they're winning, they're not getting much space.
Kitsune Rush is coming in for both sides as all Fitz just delivers Edison straight back to spawn as overtime is approaching. There is an overclock available for Fitz, but if he manages to hold on to this one, they should be good to lock this payload in. That power slide away from Fearless, almost a third one on the cooldown, but no Sparkle coming in. He's hitting like thunder, but he disappears like smoke. Prophet just disintegrates him right in front of his face. A beat comes out from the Dallas Fuel to hold on to this fight as Edison is back, but the overclock gets no value.
As you can tell, the Dallas Fuel are trying to run for the hills, but Chio's been isolated by Smurf with a great primal. Gets him before he gets the mega health, and now the card is moving. Edison has the high ground, but Fitz is coming back with the overclock.
What is the price of Vindave's head right now? Edison is collecting checks. Overclock from Fitz, looking down the straightaway, but everybody's just dodging out the way of these shots. The bubble comes up straight on top of him once again. We're still in overtime, and we've been this for quite considerable time at this point. So you step off it, you are going to lose, Soul. I mean, Prophet jumping in the last second, hits the death boss, and this looks like the end of the road for Soul. It's only Fitz left. The Dallas Fuel going to hold that payload just before the second point.
Signs of life from the Soul Dynasty, but not enough to cap through Dorado. I think it goes back to the fact that Soul Dynasty, they're just so afraid to take these fights. It feels like they're not willing to play aggressively, play isolated, and sort of force the Dallas Fuel to be uncomfortable. So it feels like Dallas is just dictating everything that they want. We saw some great moments from Fitz, and that showed some life, and that's important. He needs to keep putting up those kills, getting those numbers. But right now, they need to put on a miraculous hold against the Dallas Fuel, or they're going down to the low bracket.
Oh man, it's interesting looking at the stats and the numbers behind this game right now, because Fitz on the side of the Soul Dynasty is doing about 32% of his team's damage. Compare that to Edison, who's only at 24% of his team's damage. Sparkle is doing the heavy lifting there, as Prophet also kind of dipping down. It's like the roles are reversed on each team. Sparkle doing the most for the Dallas Fuel, but Fitz doing the most for Soul Dynasty. And we're on even kills too, 21 apiece.
And I think that goes to show what I'm trying to say of, there isn't any difference in the numbers of who's getting more kills, who's doing more damage or healing. It is literally just that Dallas Fuel, I think, is having more control over these maps. Having more control over when they're wanting to use their ultimates, when they're trying to take the space. If Soul Dynasty can start getting into that choking aspect against the Dallas Fuel on their own defense, they could start turning this series around.
That is a smart from Edison, that's a rare one. Oh, all good. Still grapple shots. Ooh. Wow, Fitz tested him there just a little bit. All good though. Shake it off, Eddie. Straight back to the Soja. It's 5% ult charge. Look at that, how generous.
And both Sparkle and Prophet going back to the Tracer prioritizing that hero on this first point, as I said, just gives you a lot more freedom to walk around the map on the first and second point. As you can see, Seoul Dynasty doing the same thing to Dallas that happened to them.
Yeah, Prophet just hitting that recall. Doing a fair amount of damage to Fearless. In return, Fearless jumps up, is matched with Sparkle. That Disruptor shot doing a fair bit to Fearless, but instant Suzu from Fielder to cleanse that slow effect as they do move out of the slow field. Shio's in a little bit of trouble, yeah. Focused, he was playing Claw Lucio there, not on the walls, not too much speed, but Vindime doing the same thing. Trying to go for an assassination, a rather bloodbath at the spawn doors right now, but with Seoul losing both supports, they have to back up.
And this is good for the Dallas Fuel because their spawn doors are so close, so they will be able to get a little bit more movement from the cart, move it further up as they wait for their respawns. No ultimates up just yet, but once again, Fielder taking the lead in the Kitsune Rush battle.
A double pulse. Prophet's got his online, Sparkle 10% away. What can you do? Let's have a look. Prophet. Playoffs Prophet. That's what's got to show up right now to keep themselves in the series. Stick comes in. Nice stick, but even better Suzu there from Fielder to save the Sojourn. Shio doesn't get up chased down, but Smurf dying is a lot less space now that Seoul Dynasty can create. They do even this up with Fitz taking and claiming the lives of the Dallas Fuel. He really has been putting up the numbers, and the Seoul Dynasty are going to hold the payload just for the moment.
Very important hold there for Seoul Dynasty. All of a sudden, the full hold becomes a lot more likely as you see Prophet trying to hunt Sparkle down, but unable to get the punish. So now all the ultimates are coming online. As I said, the Kitsune Rush versus Kitsune Rush, sound barriers versus sound barriers, it's going to go back and forth. How are both teams going to try and utilize this? Historically, you've used the sound barrier to counter the Kitsune Rush. It's up for Vinde.
Yeah, Rush available for the Dallas Fuel, but Iris is like 3% away. The sound barrier comes out late from Vindame as Fitz already dies. This is the fight over, it's already done with, and Iris popped that Kitsune Rush to try and find a foothold, but slipped over, and so did the rest of his team. The Seoul Dynasty was so close to matching that Kitsune Rush, and that beat not hitting Fitz, I mean, that's just tragic.
Yeah, it's just a little too late coming out from Vindame, so they used both of their support ultimates in a losing fight, and Dallas just walked forward and used it. They didn't even do anything incredibly special. So all of a sudden, Seoul Dynasty on the back foot a little bit again. Need to get back into control.
Oh, wow.
Edison.
Speaking of getting in control, Edison steering this ship all the way to second point. Can they actually capitalize much on this? I mean, you're still kind of juggling the high ground, just a bit of free payload push, I suppose. You know Seoul aren't going to kind of int on top of you. That's kind of nice. Ooh, Sparkle.
No. He's looking for it.
Instantly spotted. Spots Fitz, though. Power slide up to the height. Yep, all good. Just safe, but only for now.
Just trying to remain a threat. Keep Seoul Dynasty keeping an eye on him as he's diving down with Fearless. Fearless has the primal, being disruptive on the high ground.
Again! All right, post-bomb from Prophet goes wide, but Edison opening these fights up. Sparkle takes care of Vindime. And the Seoul Dynasty, they've got ults, but they cannot afford to lose them at this point. You end up pushing around this final corner, you're going to need that primal race to contest. I mean, the Dallas Fuel, you know that what they're going to do. They're going to play all the way up to those doors.
Look at them. We were literally in this exact same situation on the other side. Here's where Fearless is holding. He's holding on this door. Anywhere the Seoul Dynasty go, they're going to be getting zapped. There's going to be so much pressure coming out, and this will give space to Edison with the overclock.
The pulse. How quick are your fingers, Iris? You got to protect from that pulse bomb. Fitz already used that dash, but actually Sparkle a little bit too scared of that overclock. I don't think Dallas Fuel are right now, to be very honest with you. Edison was peeking him there for just a brief moment. Payload about 3 meters away from that second checkpoint, but Prophet is making sure they keep this competitive. The Dallas Fuel are going to have to back off and go again.
Great primal by Smurf, just disrupting the Dallas Fuel and how they wanted to play the game. So now this is a very advantageous place to hold the point. You can have Fitz back on this high ground. You're going to be able to control this, and Dallas Fuel have such a long way to go to get onto the backline of the Seoul Dynasty. Stick onto Smurf. It should not be enough to punish him, though.
No, yeah, okay. He actually got the Suzu there at the very end, but Vindime's caught again! You can't keep doing this. The Seoul Dynasty are going to get run over. Vintame's caught in the bank. I'm curious on like what his positioning, his pathing was there. Sparkle just chased him down. That's the second fight in a row where Sparkle's managed to pick off this Lucio, and Dallas Fuel now on their final approach.
Yeah, and they have 3 minutes in the bank as well. Sparkle's already made that switch over to the Reaper, recognized he needs to do that quickly. They have no ultimates in the bank, but they do have a wealth of time.
Kitsune rush for the Seoul Dynasty. Seems like a pretty easy fight for the Dallas Fuel to disengage, and they're going to do just that, but the space is bought for Soul. Okay. Well, it looks like Fearless and Smurf are in a little tickling match there. Prophet bringing guns to the tickling match as he takes care of him, but I mean, it's still the Soul Dynasty. They have to repair, and we talked about it before, but losing a Reaper in this situation, nothing really to punish the front line, so the Dallas Fuel are getting free push.
And that was the Kitsune rush by the Soul Dynasty, and now we're in one fight territory for the Dallas Fuel. They only need to get one fight. Fearless has that Primal Rage, and he has been exceptional with that so far this series.
Sparkle hiding around that corner there, comes the bubble, fits in a whole heap of hurt, has to use that power slide to jump away, but instantly Fearless chasing him with the Primal Rage. Can they save Fits in time? The whole of the Soul Dynasty looking around to try and deal with Fearless, and Sparkle takes it to him. Prophet is dead, there's a couple of meters to go, and the Dallas Fuel are going to ignore the beat, ignore the Dynasty. They've still got ults to spare. You could save them for the grand finals, Dallas, because if you're playing like this, you're headed straight there. There's a couple of meters to go. Prophet shut down, locked out, back to spawn. The Dallas Fuel ignoring Fitz. No worries, son. A 3-0 for the Fuel. Whatever the comp, whatever the meta, whoever the opponent, the Dallas Fuel continue to burn bright and dominate the upper brackets.
All the other teams are shaking in their boots a little bit at that one. I think that was exceptional play by the Dallas Fuel, just putting the Soul Dynasty away with ease. As you said, all the other teams should get ready to meet this team in the grand finals because they're booking a ticket one way.
This was supposed to be the grand finals preview. We've had a lot of sweeps in the grand finals, so I'm just saying.
I hope it's not a grand finals preview because this is what always happens, and I don't want to see a match like this. I would not put it past the Soul Dynasty. They're going back to the lower bracket. They are a team who have been able to find another gear time and time again throughout the season. This is not the last time we will see this team.
Definitely not, but what a good look from the Fuel. They come in as #1 seed, and they are scary to a whole new level. I know we just missed Halloween, but Jesus, you wouldn't want to meet these guys in a Haunted Maze, I'll tell you that right now.
I'm dressing as Dallas Fuel next year to my Halloween parties. And that man on your screen right there, Sparkle, had an exceptional series. On the Reaper, he's just such a smart player, and the way that he was navigating around the map, just making it impossible for Smurf, a two-time champion, a roll-star tank, making it impossible for him to play the game with the sheer amount of damage coming out.
Sparkle as well, player of the match for this series. Those Death Blossoms on King's Row sealed it. He's always got the brightest smile on his face too. The Dallas Fuel, terrifying right now. And you can see, I think this play right here kind of encapsulates how good they are. The bubble to protect Sparkle, to make sure he gets value. And we don't often see, like, we've seen it a few times this playoffs, yeah, with giant Death Blossoms, but at this consistency, we don't see that.
And that's an important thing, is we've seen a lot of teams struggle to get value from that Death Blossom, not partnering with the Suzu, but Sparkle was doing it time and time again. But not only that, Sparkle was able to pick up the Tracer and get immense value in this series as well on Dorado. Just navigating around, putting a lot of pressure, getting value with those pulse bombs. Sparkle definitely in form right now for these playoffs.
Someone no one really touted a Tracer player quite a while ago at this point.
I feel called out, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I've got to do it. I'm going to cast you right now. I mean, look at those stats coming in as well. I like the self-healing % of damage taken. It's quite a nice stat, actually.
I've never seen that stat before in my life.
Neither have I, but yeah, that's a lot of self-healing. I'll tell you that right now. 11k we'll call that hero damage per 10 this match. 12 final blows per 10. 3 deaths per 10. Guys are menace. Look, that is the Soul's face right now.
That's it.
That's Soul's face.
Yeah, he's doing a cosplay of whatever opponent he's going up against in the series. He knew what was going to happen. Sparkle and the Dallas Fuel are in form, and they look terrifying. I think nobody else is playing the meta right now better than them, so teams have a long way to go to close that distance. And now the Dallas Fuel will face the winner of our next match, the Houston Outlaws and the London Spitfire.
Yeah, come on, man. How scary is that? You just watch them perform on stage, you're like, okay, I'm going to use the bathroom real fast. And yeah, maybe
well, they've both been great teams as well. Yeah. And maybe the Dante Winston or the Dante Arisa or the Dante Hog is the solution to the Dallas Fuel problem.
Dante, play the Hog. Please, brother.
Maybe don't.
Please. Just please. We're going to jump to break and we'll find out if Dante's going to play the hog. We have London Spitfire versus the Houston Outlaws. After this, don't go anywhere.
오케이.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Butterfinger. Crispity, crunchity, peanut buttery. No one lays a finger on your Butterfinger.
Welcome back to Game Break. I'm here joined now by Fearless from Dallas Fuel. Fearless, congratulations on the win. I gotta say, I thought that was going to be a lot closer, but that wasn't the case. You know, you ended the series with a lot quicker than a lot of people expected. So, what was the game plan going into today's match against Seoul Dynasty? 자, 오늘 승리 너무 축하드리면서 많은 사람들이 오늘 경기가 되게 빅매치가 되지 않을까라는 예상을 했는데 결과는 전혀 그러지 않았습니다. 달라스가 3대 0으로 너무나도 쉽게 승리를 거두셨는데요. 오늘 경기를 좀 전략적으로 봤을 때 좀 어떻게 임하셨나요?
일단 그냥 전략이라기에는 저희가 이미 너무 짜여놓은 게 많기 때문에 딱 스크림 하던 대로 연습하던 대로 그냥 하니까 이렇게 3대 0으로 이겼던 것 같습니다.
I can't really get into the details because there's so many different strategies that we had planned out for this match. But I just want to say, you know, we carried out our plan perfectly, and also we just sort of played how we played in scrims, and I think that's how we got the win. Talking about scrims, are you guys actually really like this? Like unstoppable in scrims as well, just out of curiosity. 두 번째 질문 들어가기 전에 되게 짧게 방금 스크림 얘기가 나와서 하는 말인데 스크림에서도 이렇게 좀 다 패고 다니시나요?
그거는 업계 비밀입니다.
업계 비밀. All right, Fearless says that's a confidential thing for business wise. So he unfortunately cannot give me the answer. All right, well I mean, like I said, Dallas Fuel right now in the playoffs. You guys seem unstoppable. So Fearless, I just want to ask you, is there a team in the playoffs right now that could put a stop to the Dallas Fuel? 자, 두 번째 질문은 Fearless 선수의 좀 개인적인 의견을 듣고 싶습니다. 지금 봤을 때 현 상황에서 프로에서 정말 좀 무서울 정도로 너무 지금 이제 달라스가 잘하고 있기 때문에 Fearless 선수가 보셨을 때 지금 플레이오프에서 달라스를 막을 수 있는 팀이 있다고 보시나요?
일단 뭐 제 개인적으로는 없는 것 같은데 그나마 좀 이제 만나면 좀 힘들 수도 있다 하면은 이제 런던인 것 같습니다. 네.
이유가 있다면?
런던이 잘해요. 좀 많이 잘하더라고요. 대회 보니까.
알겠습니다.
네.
알겠습니다. All right. Personally, I don't think any team will put a stop to the Dallas Fuel currently in the playoffs. But if I have to pick, if there, is a little bit of possibility, I'll have to go with London. Reason being, they're pretty good. All right, that is it for the interview. Fearless, thank you so much for your time. And again, big congratulations on the win. 자, 인터뷰 너무 감사드리고 다음 경기에서 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 이석근, 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Thank you. All right, Zoe, back to you.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thanks a lot, Fearless. Congratulations to the Dallas Fuels. They are moving one step closer to grabbing that trophy, I guess. But we gotta talk about this series, guys, because quite frankly, I think we all hoped for it to be closer. I personally thought heading into it, there's only two ways this can go, which is either Dallas sweeps or it's going to be a 5-mapper and like an absolute nail-biter. Last week got the first version of this one. Let's talk about why it ended up looking like that. Because quite frankly, throughout the entirety of the series, it just kind of looked to me like Dallas Fuel is controlling that tempo from beginning to end at all times.
You want me to go first, John? I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts because I've been talking so much about it.
All right, we'll get to that later. You
Okay, let me go. Well, yeah, I agree with you, Soy. That was sort of something I was trying to highlight on this cast. It really felt like the Dallas Fuel were just playing so aggressive, so up-tempo, getting in the Seoul Dynasty's face, even though the final blows and the damage and the healing was not always going one way, felt like the Dallas Fuel never really lost control of the series. And you can't isolate one player, in my opinion, from the Seoul Dynasty that I think was struggling. As a whole team, it did not feel like they had an answer to what the Dallas Fuel were doing. Fearless was playing the game almost for free, it felt like, maneuvering around the map, doing whatever he wanted, and that just gave freedom to Sparkle to do this time and time again.
Yeah, I felt like the Seoul Dynasty were very much overwhelmed by everything going on, everything the Dallas Fuel had to put forth. Because not only did you have Fearless playing some of the best Winston we've seen in forever, Sparkle, he kept touching up with all these Death Blossoms, finding early picks into the fight. And Edison as well, like on the Sojourn. It feels like everyone on the Dallas Fuel, they're playing at a superstar level right now, and they quite frankly look unstoppable. Everyone is contributing, everyone is playing at such a high pace with such confidence. But the Seoul Dynasty, they honestly looked a bit shell-shocked. They're just like, what's going on? Like, there's so much going on that they were a bit lost. Swerve is jumping back and forth. No one can really find anything to get it going for the Seoul Dynasty. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, Dallas Fuel, they look unstoppable here in the playoffs. I thought Seoul Dynasty, if anyone, would be able to put up a fight, and not even them. They got swept 3-0.
Absolutely. I mean, Dallas Fuel, I think one thing which really impresses when you're really breaking down those gameplays, those fights they've taken, is just the cohesion. The communication is on point, and I think that is what a lot of teams have been struggling with. They all play a little bit more, not egoistically, but I think a lot of the teams where we actually are semi-used to having a lot of like teamwork, somehow in this meta, it's not at the same level. Why is that?
It's kind of interesting. I think a great example of that is the Shanghai Dragons, a team that has great individual players at the same level.
They used to have a hive mind, right?
Yeah, they used to have a hive mind. They used to have that level of coordination. They were the original team that broke down the Dallas Fuel hive mind, but they were unable to do anything in this meta, even with Fate in the lineup, and even with Lip going absolutely crazy. That's sort of the surprising thing for me about Dallas. It wasn't Edison just clicking 3 heads. It wasn't just Sparkle doing everything, Fearless doing everything. As a unit, they're doing absolutely everything. So if you're trying to isolate and find a weakness for the Dallas Fuel, you got to break down the whole thing, not just one thing.
But I think it's important to remember, when the Shanghai Dragons broke down the Dallas Fuel in 2021, in the June Dust, it was because they were countering with the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah.
They didn't up the pace against the Dallas Fuel. The Shanghai Dragons last year, they recognized we can't match the pace of Fearless on the Winston. We can't like keep up the tempo with the Dallas Fuel. So Shanghai instead, they decided to counter composition that Winston with a Wrecking Ball pick instead. This time around, there's no Wrecking Ball to save these teams.
You can try.
Either you step up the pace, you step up the tempo, and try to match the Dallas Fuel, or there's nothing else, there's no other answer. So with Shanghai Dragons out, with Wrecking Ball not really a viable hero to match this composition, I don't see it. I don't see how any team stops the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, no, they do indeed look unstoppable. Now, Seoul, of course, is not out of the competition just yet. They're now dropped down to the lower bracket, where I believe they will be facing off against the San Francisco Shock.
Yep, that is correct.
That is correct. I am correct. Look at that. And now that's going to be an interesting one for sure. And I am very interested to see if the Seoul Dynasty can maybe claw their way back up and get that rematch. But would the rematch just look the same in the end?
Well, I would hope not. You know, I would hope that if we did end up going, they made their way through the lower bracket into the grand finals, it would be closer. But for me, I was always like, oh, whoever loses from this match goes against the San Francisco Shock, and it'll probably be that team that wins. But after that match, and the San Francisco Shock making improvements, that could be a lot closer of a series than many of us expected coming into today.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to our next match, we want to take a look at the London Spitfire and the Houston Outlaws, starting off with Leveling Up, presented by Butterfinger. And this is an interesting one, because I want to take a look at Dante's heroes play. Dante has been such an interesting player throughout the entirety of this season. He was put in a position where he had to pick up a lot of different heroes, and not just different heroes, but a completely different role, which a lot of people had doubts, I would say, and I think he proved them wrong.
I was a doubter. I'll just say it. Obviously, he came, when he first moved into this tank role, it was to play the Doomfist, historically a DPS hero, so it made sense. And then he came in and he played the Junker Queen, and it made sense. It's a new hero who's good at it. But now he's just like, well, I can also play Zarya and D.Va, and now Winston. So he can really do everything, and people have to be afraid of that heading into their series against them, because there are great players who can play Orisa. He's played a little bit of Roadhog. That can sort of tilt you off guard. So the London Spitfire need to be careful if Dante decides to pull out one of those pocket picks.
I will say, though, the strength of the Houston Outlaws do not lie in this Dante Winston pick. If you want to go all the way against teams like the Dallas Fuel, London Spitfire, who Fearless just mentioned, is like their one challenger in this meta in many ways. The strength of the Houston Outlaws is not Dante's Winston play. I want to see them come into this matchup against a team like the London Spitfire and, you know, throw something in there. Just like give us a taste of something else as well. A Roadhog. Maybe we've seen teams go to Circuit Real and play some Sigma, for example. Now, I don't know if Dante's a Sigma player either. But you get the you get the example, right? Really try to like mess up this matchup for the London Spitfire, because Dante, as good as he's been when it comes to flexibility, he is a damage player, and some of those more mechanically intense heroes, that is his forte.
I feel like this one could get really chaotic. Just because of the way London is being London, doing London things, and then Houston throwing out some wonky things here and there. And I feel like London might get dragged into matching that chaotic energy. So this might be really entertaining.
I was also really curious to hear Fearless say London was the team that he was the most curious by, and they're only pretty good, according to Fearless, but pretty good in Dallas Fuel standards is probably very strong.
Good, yeah.
So London Spitfire have been on an absolute tear. Their team is playing very well in this meta. Everyone's peaking at the right time. I think the Houston Outlaws have a challenge on their hands, but I agree with you. If the Houston Outlaws can drag the London Spitfire into the depths of Roadhog, anything could happen.
I hope it's gonna happen just because I'd like to be entertained. Now let's take a look at our predictions for this particular match. And I feel like questions need to be answered. They do indeed. Oh God, me and the fans.
Best friends, right?
Yeah, well, I guess we're rolling with it. To be honest, this pick is solely based on Jake asking me to pick them and also telling me that.
Come on!
No, he
you
told
have
me
nothing in there?
Were you in a bathroom? It happened to me. It was
no,
wrong.
I heard there were scrimbox.
Thankfully.
And I got kind of dragged into this, but you know, Jake, his charming little smile.
He's very
he comes
nice.
up and he says a few things. I'm like, well, I guess so. And also, he promised me that if they lose, he's going to give me a formally written apology.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, that's nice.
It's a win-win.
I never received something like that, so I thought I might as well.
Well, I heard that the fans at least predicted Houston Outlaws for gameplay reasons. So
Well,
hopefully,
we all have
someone's
different
backing
reasons,
them.
and that is okay.
There's no way you're telling me that the fans didn't choose Houston Outlaws because of Jake as well. That is probably most of their
You
reasons.
think that all the fans, a majority of the fans, predicted the Houston Outlaws because of Jake?
I think some of them
He doesn't
did.
even play
I think
anymore.
some of them did. You know,
Because he can translate Korean?
yeah,
And
probably.
play like Lucio and
Really
bench
darn
some of his
good.
own
I mean,
players?
what can
He
you
might
say?
sub himself in.
But I mean,
Come on.
honestly, looking at both of those teams, either would deserve it. The winner of this match is going to be in the top 3. And I think for both those teams, for both those franchises, that means the world. This is much further than I believe anyone would have expected either of those teams to come. So at this point, they're playing with house money. They're going to have fun. And that's what we want to see. And that is going to be our last match of the day. And bringing you all the actions are going to be Jaws and Necro.
But they're casters.
Oh, who are they?
Whoa, no way!
Whoa, we're back!
We're back. Let's go. Thankfully, I've got Rose back here. Yes. Scott, back on the desk. Rose next to me as we cast the final game of the day. Houston Outlaws versus the London Spitfire. A true Cinderella story for London, Rose, coming into the tournament. And so he framed it perfectly. They're playing with house money. At the end of the day, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not pointing fingers. A lot of people, a lot of you out there had London Spitfire at the bottom of your power rankings coming into the season, and now they have a chance at a top 3 position in the playoffs.
That's absolutely wild. I think for both of these teams, maybe Houston Outlaws a little less so, just were kind of had the cards stacked against them. I mean, for London Spitfire and for Houston Outlaws, they've had tremendous journeys throughout the season so far, and both were pretty unexpected to meet each other in a semi-final match of the playoffs, I feel like, especially when you look at just the opposition that these teams had to get through in order to even get to this point.
Well, let's bring out that Cinderella, that princess, that charming fairy tale that is the London Spitfire. London, they come in as complete underdogs. They're currently in the upper bracket. They're looking to make it all the way. Of course, guaranteeing themselves a top 3 position if they finish here, Rose, with a win. Houston Outlaws are their opposition, but I think they've taken the audience, the Overwatch League audience. I see the Hadi cosplay on the Chinese broadcast is pretty sick. I think they've taken the globe by storm. Like, there's something to really say about a team that comes in that is just so low on the expectations and blast their way through playoffs, form their own style with the Mei, with the Rhine, the rush, the pure energy, the aggression coming out from Hardy. It's a wonder to see, and having them in this position, honestly, it's just beautiful.
It's really been fun to watch the London Spitfire evolve over the course of the season. And even just during the playoffs, you can see how much of a hive mind this team has really become. They're all on the same page, and Landon put it perfectly during his winter interview that the team just knows what to do together. And so that, on top of the fact that Landon has been one of the top Kiriko performers for the league, for the playoffs, and then how Sparker and Backbone have been working on the Sojourn and the Reaper respectively, they know what to do together.
Let's bring out their opposition, the team that stands in their way of the guaranteed top 3